The reason betrayal hurts you so much is because growing up, you were betrayed many, many times by your parents and caregivers. What I mean by this is when they are loving you, hugging you, embracing you, looking after you, keeping you safe, you develop that trust as an infant, as a toddler, as a teen, as a young adult. You develop that trust in them. But as a infant, when you develop the trust on your parents and caregivers, but they scolded you or they gave you time out and punished you, it was a betrayal of your trust, which you learned was important to get disciplined. And then when they came back and the timeout was done, you bestowed the love back onto them. So you learned this betrayal and trust will happen simultaneously because it happened in your very close and most important relationship. So in effect, we were taught and conditioned that both go hand in hand, which is why it is so difficult when we find romantic relationships to not be able to discern and to distinguish whether what's happening to us is toxic or it's just the spat or the argument or the small fight. Then the person goes away, sulks, doesn't talk, there's an argument, there's a silence, and then they come back to you, and then you're back into it with a bang and completely trusting all over again. So this is very typical in narcissistic and toxic relationships. The toxic partner will already know that this betrayal and trust conditioning exists in every person, and they will misuse this and exploit it, and they will make sure that they will find a way to keep betraying you and making you come back and realign with them and make that trust go up. So you have to find a way where you figure out that with parenting, it was a necessary tool for parenting, for disciplining. In the overall larger scheme of things, that was what parenting means. But when you mimic this, and you do as an adult, the first relationship that you know and how your relationship with your parent was and how often they did this dance between gathering and then breaking trust, garnering it and breaking it. So if you were conditioned to it, then you will be more predisposed to attracting and allowing a toxic partner to build this trust and to break this trust. So this is the reason why you're confused, you don't know. We were taught at a very early age that the two coexist. But the distinction between a toxic relationship and a healthy relationship is very important, where the trust is not being deliberately broken. The trust is not being repeatedly, as an adult, taken away from you. The entire safety, security, and growth and evolution of that relationship is not taken away and then fed back to you and then taken away. So there has to be a consistency in the love. There has to be a mutual growth. It cannot be that you're feeling very weird about the fact that certain times the partner becomes completely attentive and loving and caring and protective, and at certain times they are out of your system, out of the relationship, and they're in some other zone, or they're breaking your trust. Betrayal hurts, but it does not have to define you. It is a breach of your trust and you feel unsafe, you feel fearful, but it also is a reflection of where work needs to be done. So if you find yourself in a situation where you are being misused and exploited, where your goodness and your faith in other people is being used by them, they do the same mistake again and again and again, then you have to take a few steps back and assess the situation and assess what is it that makes you forgive them, because not everybody deserves forgiveness. So there is a myth around that, and we need to bust that myth to say that you need to protect your own inner sense of self, and you cannot be in that people-pleasing state, which is an activated and triggered state in toxic relationships. So the distinction between toxic and healthy relationships needs to be gotten by you getting out of that whole system of betrayal and then again feeding back the trust. And you need to observe it, what's going on, acknowledge that there is some amount of back and forth which you're not comfortable with, and draw up boundaries where you are protected, where you are preserved. So it does not mean that you will stay stuck in this frozen state. It is a traumatic experience, but you will get out of it. You have to know that you will recover. And in fact, it has come in your journey to chisel you, to show you where work needs to be done. In the vast array of life where so many areas can be worked upon, this is the area that you need to focus on. And on the other side of this area is that awakening that is waiting for you to connect with it. So don't spend any more time in the past, in a pity party. Get a hold of your own power, be empowered to understand, use your inner intelligence to decipher the situation, master it, and also recover with complete healing, with complete softness, with complete belief in love, and not with a cynical set of views or bitterness. Your highest strength and quality is the fact that you trusted again. So don't let that trust go. Just become wiser in who you are giving it to, and be able to read the room, read the person much before it shatters, much before it is exploited. And you will understand that this sense of self is a curated, developed, nourished state of being. You don't just come into the earth born with all these qualities. You have to do trial and error. You have to bruise your knees. You have to learn the hard way. But learning is the constant, and change then is the constant. So make sure that you do that, and you do not get into the nervous system frozen state or a self-sabotaging stage or demotivated stage or fearful state. You have to know that you will find your balance. You will always land on your feet, and you will always find from this situation where your trust and your faith was breached, that you have that ability to rise way higher. You have a connect, and that connect to your own soul's wisdom is what was keeping on churning in your being, and that is your aha moment that you're integrating with, and that you're now understanding and becoming fully anchored in your sense of self.